To order the Kitsap Public Facilities District meeting, Monday, June 26, 2023. And first we'll have is public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Mr. Anderson's online. Mr. Anderson, would you like to make a public comment? Mr. Anderson, can you hear us? Or if you'd like to put your comment into a chat section, I'll be more than happy to read that.
Okay, we'll move on. And if he does come back with one, we can just...
I will let you know.
Yeah. We'll move on to item 3, which is approval of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, do we have any discussion on approval of the consent agenda? No discussion. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, the consent agenda has been approved. And with that, we'll move on to the facility project report with Port Orchard.
Share screen.
Okay, give me just 1 second. I'll get down there. I'm going to share my screen so Mr. Bond can present from his laptop. All right, Mr. Bond, you should have it now.
I don't think it's displaying on the,
Let me stop share here.
there we go.
Okay, and Director Havers is joining us as well.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Nicholas Bond, the Community Development Director for the City of Port Orchard, and I'm here tonight to give you an update on our Community Event Center project. Where we have left off on the Community Event Center, first of all, we hired a consultant because we are seeking LEED Silver certification. This is an environmental certification that certifies that we are exceeding requirements for energy efficiency and environmental design. Our consultant came back to us with a handful of minor recommended changes to our building plans to achieve a LEED Silver status, and so we're making those revisions right now. I'm also pleased to report that last week the building permits for the Community Event Center were submitted to the permit center here at the city to commence plan review on that project. So we are getting underway with reviewing, having our building official review the plans for the building so that the permits can ultimately be issued. Another change that took place recently, Kitsap Regional Library came to us and had a number of concerns about the interior layout of the library space. And so at Kitsap Library's expense, they agreed to pay for a contract amendment with our architect that moved a few walls around and redesigned some of the office spaces that were contemplated for their area. And so those changes have been made and were part of the building permit submittal last week. And you can see on this plan, just the red lines and notes indicate where those minor revisions were made to the interior layout of the building. There was also just a couple minor things on the second floor of the building that related to the changes down below. The next really exciting part of the project that I'm here to present is that the city has, well, first of all, the area in green and blue are the areas we've been designing up to this point. The green area is what is funded by Kitsap Public Facilities District. The blue area is funded by the City of Port Orchard, and this is the seawall replacement and the shoreline restoration, and we have a grant that helps pay for that from the State Recreation and Conservation Office. The red area, now that we have reached an agreement with Kitsap Bank for the development of their headquarters, the city is moving forward to design the public plazas here shown in red. And our intent is that when we bid the Community Event Center, the areas in blue and red will be bid alternates on the bid documents for that project. So this will all be bid as one project. It will all get constructed at the same time. We will obviously have to do some accounting to keep the costs in the green areas separate from the blue and the red areas. But this is now the extent of the project that we intend to go to bid on in 2026. The other part of this is that we have to apply for shoreline permits for the community event center project. And rather than applying for two separate permit submittals, we're going to complete our schematic design for the plaza over the next 2 or 3 months. And using those schematic plans, we are going to apply for one shoreline permit for this whole area so that we're not having to go to the hearing examiner twice. And the public will be able to see and comment on the entire scope of our project at once. We've presented this graphic to you previously, but I wanted to update everyone. The civil engineering for the overwater structure and the shoreline restoration effort is currently submitted to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for review. That's a lengthy process that we have to go through. And through the JARPA application, which is a Joint Aquatic Resources Permit consolidated application, Fish and Wildlife has indicated that we also will need to get a hydraulic project approval. That's an HPA permit. And so we are, our consultants are putting together the requested materials for Fish and Wildlife so that they can also issue a permit for our overwater portions of the project. And then the really exciting news, I mentioned that we entered an agreement with Kitsap Bank at our last city council meeting. We now have a development agreement in place for Kitsap Bank to move forward with their new headquarters building. This is a rendering of the entrance of that building at the corner of Frederick and Bay Street, and it's a mass timber frame building using glue laminated beams and a lot of natural wood. Unfortunately, the trees in this image rendered at kind of the wrong scale, and so I don't think that it's going to be quite as dense a foliage as what you see here, but definitely we're going to have some nice landscaping. There's a nice entry plaza with some outdoor seating. They plan to have a cafe on the ground floor where you can go get coffee and sit outside and enjoy the plazas, the waterfront, and the new streetscape. Finally, this image you've also seen previously. This is the plaza showing the location of the community event center, Kitsap Bank, our future sewer lift station, but it also shows the improvements that we are making to Bay Street. And so the city received funding. We received an appropriation from Derek Kilmer's office of $1 million for the Bay Street design project. And then we received another $2.2 million through PSRC of federal funding for construction. And so our aim right now is that as soon as WashDOT gives us a green light to select a consultant, they're currently reviewing a draft request for proposals that we'd like to circulate in the near future. We will hire an engineering consultant to design the 100% plans and specs for Bay Street and over onto Frederick. And we are hopeful that we will be breaking ground on that project in 2025. And so our intent is for Bay Street to break ground while Kitsap Bank is under construction, and that Bay Street will be completed by the time that Kitsap Bank is completed, so that they're opening onto a nice finished complete street. And then once Kitsap Bank has moved out of their existing building, we can tear that down and begin construction on the community event center, which we're hoping to bid in late 2025 for construction starting in 2026. And I believe that is everything. I do have a couple of other renderings. This is the water side of the Kitsap Bank building, as well as the entrance on the Orchard Street Plaza side of the building. You can kind of see that the building is cantilevered out onto the Orchard Street Plaza. So there's weather protection and some outdoor seating, as well as an entrance from the corner. The design consultant joked that the foreground here is white because the city hasn't designed the plaza waterward of their building yet. But fortunately, as you saw earlier in the presentation, that area is now being designed by the city's design team. So any questions?
I had a couple. You said you are aiming for silver LEED certification. Was there some thought process between silver, gold, or platinum, but weighing the benefits, etc.?
Yeah, so the reason that we are choosing to seek LEED Silver certification, and it is expensive to pursue these. I think it's going to be a minimum of $250,000 to get the LEED Silver certification. But to receive federal library funding, which we're working with the library to go after some library grants, you have to meet a LEED Silver certification as a minimum. And so we are designing to match the funding sources that are available. I would love to see a higher LEED building. We just don't have the budget to do that sort of thing.
Okay. Yep. I was just curious if that was something we looked at. And then I was writing that note when you said the red shaded area on a previous slide, that the funding was coming from for the Orchard Plaza.
Yes. So that funding, we updated our park impact fee in
Last year.
And so we have had so much development in Port Orchard over the last 12 months. We have enough money now to complete this design. And we believe at the rate that we are collecting impact fees, we'll have enough money to build this plaza using park impact fee money. But also there's a grant window that opens in the fall or the spring of 2024. So I think the grant opens in February and closes in May. We're going to seek $1 million in funding from the Recreation Conservation Office under their local parks category. And hopefully we'll get some additional state funding to help pay for this. If we don't get that funding, I think we'll still hopefully find a way to move forward with this project, but we'd really like to find some state match there.
Excellent. And last question, part of this has been the three-legged stool, right? And we see the future development down below, the private development part of this, but it was also going to provide some parking and some conversations that we had. Is that, I know there's code changes coming into effect. Is that permitted? Is that in the works yet?
We're working on some marketing materials. We are looking for a development partner for that site. I think that one thing we've talked about is taking the 640 Bay Street city lot and making it a surface parking lot on an interim basis, just until one of these projects moves forward. We may also need it for a staging area during the community event center construction. So we'll probably make that available for parking in the interim. But long term, we are seeking a development partner. We've talked to a few different companies, and really until all of the properties have been tied up and assembled, it's a harder thing to ask a developer to partner on when they have to go and get a property under contract. We'll see kind of what direction this takes in the near future. But I think once the Bay Street Road is constructed or at least we're closer to construction, I think that the developers are going to have a lot more interest in this site. Right now, without having a completed design or being closer to construction, I think it's still a little bit too abstract for some of the developers we're talking to, but they're definitely asking us to keep them posted on the opportunity and how our project evolves. So I think once the bank breaks ground and once Bay Street starts construction, I'm hoping that we'll find ourselves a partner.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much. That was a very, very nice presentation. So now we'll move on to item 5, which is general business update to the PFD Board of Directors webpage.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, let me bring up the website real quick. Okay, first off, I want to thank the board for everybody getting their picture taken and for the bios that I've received. When I started here in November of 2021, we talked about a few things that I thought would help us with more exposure to the public. And one of those was providing more information about our board of directors and putting a face to a name. More so than just a name and an email address. And so getting your pictures up, I think, has really helped that. On top of that, too, if there's a brief bio that you've written up, we've included that as well. So now if you go to our website and you go to the About portion at the top and then go down to board members, it's a completely different looking page. So I took the liberty of doing a write-up on how the board is appointed, talking about that every county commissioner, mayor, city manager has one appointee, and then those positions are 4-year terms, and they can be run consecutive terms if their appointee or if the appointer deems it that way. Then you can see the picture of each one of our board of directors, their current title. There's a link to their email address if they wish to be, if they're going to be, if public wants to email them. And then if you hover over their name, we'll do this for Director Bullock, you'll see that there's a write-up, a brief bio that was of Director Bullock, and gives the public a little bit more information about what they do, perhaps how long they've been serving on the board, what their interests are, and so forth. So I was really pleased with the way all the pictures turned out, with the bios that have been submitted so far. So just wanted to give you an update. I hope that that's something that the board is pleased with as well.
Well, thank you. I think it looks very nice.
Is there any questions or comments by the board members? Any areas of improvement you see that we may need to do?
Great job. Thanks for doing it. And yeah, wonderful.
Great. All right. Thank you all.
Russ, I think my only comment is on the website. I think it's you kind of caught yourself there, because when it talks about at the discretion of the respective appointee, I think it technically should be appointer. I think as the directors, aren't we the appointees, and then whoever's doing the appointment? So are you back at the top there? If you don't mind scrolling.
Oh, on the write-up?
Yeah, where it says a board member may serve consecutive terms at the discretion of the respective appointee. Are you meaning, for example, at the discretion of, for example, the
yeah, I
commissioner or
meant to
whatever?
say,
That would
it
be
should
the
say
appointer.
appointer.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing with the last sentence. I think it should be there instead of this.
Yes, you're right. As a matter of fact, I will make those changes. I appreciate you all taking a look at that, and I will make those changes immediately. It will take me 30 seconds to do that.
Great. Other than that, looks great.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all very much again for cooperating and making that happen.
Okay, then we will move on to the event fund application that we have.
Yeah, and I don't see, I'd gotten an email and he was asking for instructions on how to dial in, and I haven't seen him dial in just yet. If it's all right with the board, what I would like to do is allow him to present in July. He did meet the deadline and he got the application in by the end of June. The event would be in December. Would there be any objection by the board if we allowed him to present his event fund project in July?
I don't have any problem. We have another one in July anyway, don't we?
We do. And I also want to make sure the board was okay with having a second event fund application presented in July as well.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Is everybody else?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great. One last thing before we go any further, I wanted to, if you're all right with this, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to talk briefly about our sales tax rebate revenue summary for this month. We are 1.8% less this month than we were a year ago. And you can see that right now, year to date, we're at 2.4%. So I think that the homework that Northwest Municipal Advisors did was accurate in being conservative in our projected revenue growth at about 2.5%. I don't know if we're going to start to trend downward, but you can see that we kind of plateaued in the previous month and then this last month then. And remember, these are 2 months in the rear, so we're reporting out on May. It's the May tax return, but it's for March, the month of March. But we are starting to see, I don't know if it's a true trend. We'll take 2 or 3 more months to see that. But I just did want to highlight the fact that we received less than we had this time last year. And it's been several years since that happened. The last time that happened was back in 2021. So,
Thank you very much for that.
okay.
Any comments on that? And we never got anyone that wanted to make a public comment. Hank?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm glad you said that. Mr. Anderson, for whatever reason, let me unmute him again and see if perhaps he can join us again. He did send me a comment though, but let me see if I can. Mr. Anderson, can you? I think you can hear us, but can you speak? Okay, it doesn't look like he's able to speak on his end. The comment, though, was that he had seen some positive press in the newspaper about the Kitsap Bank and their new headquarters, and he asked me to pass that on, and I told him I'd be more than happy to. As a matter of fact, I will say my comment was just pointing out the Kitsap Bank project received good press in today's Kitsap Sun.
Thank you very much for that. If we have nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.
All right, thank you all.